Oh, hello, welcome to this update for the Western Pacific. Let's see what's happening. We'll talk about Asia as well, but especially these storms and some heavy rain. So let's see, we had Typhoon Danas that weakened to a tropical storm and it made landfall in China a few days ago. So now it's just the remnants are still affecting southern China with some heavy rain. There's a lot of convection still and some very heavy rain with those storm remnants. We have some other invests to watch. There's 93W that has currently the highest chances of formation, but it might stay out to sea or pass close to Japan, as some models suggest. And then there's invest 91W that is very weak. It might not go far and stay out to sea. And there's 92W that might try to do something. So it's also in that area near Japan and Taiwan. Some models take it towards China and others towards Japan, but since there might be some land interaction, we'll see if this forms or not. But here on the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, we just have 93W still with a low chance of formation the next 24 hours. So let's see. These are the European ensembles for the next week, and they do look pretty active. So there's like, here's around invest 93W near Japan, there's 92W between China and Japan, and this area north of the Philippines, there's some other potential systems to watch later on. So as you can see, all these squiggly lines, this area is very active. We have to watch closely. So especially like for Japan, China, and the Philippines, maybe the Koreas, we need to watch these areas because the European model does have a lot of support. There's the GFS next 240 hours. It's slightly different, but it still has those areas east of Japan. There might be something very close to Japan and some heavy rains. Industrial layer further south along the Western Pacific near China and the Philippines, some more systems could form up. So we'll keep watching. There's even the Climate Prediction Center from the US that issued a global tropics hazard outlook, and they even have like a more than a 60% chance of tropical cyclones in the Western Pacific. That's the highest probability, around 40 to 60%. So we really have to watch this area. And also in week three, still at 40%. So we are watching this area closely. Let's see some models first here for these systems in case anything forms, and later some heavy rain. So there's like, let's find the Western Pacific here. The GFS is showing like a low pressure near China there. That's probably the remnants of Danas. And then this goes and it tries to form this low pressure between China and Japan on the 12th. So the GFS almost forms that into a tropical storm near southern Japan, the southern Big Island. So if you are like in those areas of southern Japan and also the islands further south, I recommend you watch this very closely. So this goes and like passes throughout Japan. This might not be tropical, but it will bring some heavy rain and gusty winds either way. So be aware. This is around the 14th next week. So this goes, and then later the GFS is turning crazy again and forming monstrous typhoons. You shouldn't even pay attention to this because the GFS is absolutely crazy. But the storm near Japan and China now is possible because even the European model is forming a low pressure like 993 right off of southern Japan and to the east of China. So be careful in those areas. This is already by Sunday in 3 days. So this goes shows it here in southern Japan, around those islands there, in Hiroshima, Kagoshima, and more areas there in southern Japan. So please be careful around the 14th. This goes and the remnants of it pass throughout most of Japan with some heavy rain. So be aware there. This is probably coming your way. And then later, even the European model is forming something in the Western Pacific. So let's see here, because this is the European model now, because I think I was accidentally on the GFS. So here, the European tries to form that system near southern Japan, like 995 low pressure. That's like tropical storm strength, but the west side of it is dry, so it does have a disorganized system. So this goes into Japan, the remnants of it, like some heavy rain, gusty winds, but it doesn't form any big tropical cyclone. It just tries to form something like 998 near southern Japan and Korea, so this might quickly become something. But some models are stronger and some are weaker, and even the European models try to form something later. The Western Pacific. This is July 19th. It has a broad system just east of the Philippines. So it goes, but it's very disorganized and broad, but tries to go towards China and Taiwan again by the 22nd. So we'll keep watching those areas. Be aware. There's the Canadian model, shows like this goes, it barely forms the storm between China and Japan. It does have 997 millibars low pressure just south of the South Island in Japan, but it barely organized it. So the GFS is the only model that's actually turning that into a well-defined system. But the Invest 93W, just east of Japan, the Canadian tries to form that one as well. There, and it kind of goes out to sea but passes close to Japan. And after that, we're still watching this area east of the Philippines after July 17th into the 22nd for stuff near the Western Pacific again. So better watch this time frame around July 18th towards the 25th. So the icon, it also forms a tropical storm south of Japan, just like the GFS, and it goes to 995 and tries to form the 93W there as well. So it goes down to 990, this tropical storm just south of Japan by next Sunday, the 13th. So be aware if you are in those areas of southern Japan. This might be just a sloppy system like the European showed and might not become much, or might be a tropical storm like the GFS and the icon are showing. So this goes, and the icon kind of strengthens this to 996 and goes towards mainland Japan there. So if this happens, you should be even more concerned. But the icons can sometimes show weird things. It's not a good model for the tropics. It's good for thunderstorms, but for tropical areas, not really. So there's the Neptune as well. Shows like this goes, and then it tries to form 93W out in the Pacific, but it tries to form the 92W1 south of Japan, but not really. It's kind of messy system like the European showed. But later by July 17th, it tries to form another one in the Western Pacific, so better watch that time frame later. So beware because that area in the Pacific is very favorable now. The Matthew Julian isolation is right over there, and then it will keep moving east later, maybe by the end of July in the Eastern Pacific again, as the Matthew Julian isolation reaches there. So yeah, but that area is very favorable now. So better watch closely, and if this goes to Japan or not, it will cause some heavy rains, especially in the South Island there in the southern areas, central Japan as well, like some 62 millimeters in Tokyo, even to 107 east of Tokyo. But the European does show some 142 millimeters, southern parts of Japan, and central areas like the South Island to 116, 124 millimeters. So stay safe in those areas, more areas. Depending on how this unfolds, there might be more. For example, the GFS turns this into a tropical storm and has like in Hiroshima and more spots more than 139 millimeters. So stay safe in those areas. In Kagoshima, even to like 200 in a few islands south of Japan. So this is possible. Be careful with flooding. The icon has also areas there to 200 millimeters, more spots to these small islands south of Japan to more than 150. So stay safe. Be careful with flooding, gusty winds, and everything. So there's this high resolution model from the Meteorological Agency of Japan. It only goes out until Sunday, but it already shows some 200 meters in Amami, in Shanghai to 175. This island, southern Japan, more than 200. So sometimes I trust these high resolution models more. So be careful with some flooding and heavy rain. And in case this turns into a tropical storm, just be ready for a tropical storm in those southern areas in case this does unfold. So stay safe in those areas near the island of South Korea. Be aware as well, some heavy rain sometimes, and spots in eastern China. Still, there's the remnants of Danas there, so be careful. Some 124 to 251 millimeters in a few spots. So be careful in eastern China and more spots in southern China because like northernmost China has a few fronts with a storm or two and some stronger storms, but nothing too crazy. Central-West China is kind of dry, especially in the interior deserts, but some precipitation in Tibet and a few spots to the west, but especially like southern southeastern China is heavy. So stay safe. Shows in Thailand as well. Spots in Laos and Thailand. More than 100 meters. Next 5 days. This like the next 2 days, because until Sunday. So 5 days. I bet will be even more. So 204 millimeters. Myanmar some 155 just in the next 2 days. So stay safe, especially Central India. Central India doesn't stop. It just continues the torrential downpour. So 300 millimeters in the next 2 days. So please be careful. The GFS much less, just 100 meters in the next 2 days. So different things might happen in India. But the icon is suggesting all the way to 300 in the next 2 days. So stay safe in those areas. In 5 days shows even more, especially in the west coast of India, as those winds ramp up, shows more than 200 meters along the west coast between Sunday and next Tuesday, especially. So stay safe, July 14th and 15th and 13th, especially. It shows further west to 400 millimeters in India next 5 days. The icon has this going to Pakistan as well by next Sunday until next Tuesday, the 15th, and it has potentially some flooding there as well, and more spots westerning. So these are central to western India should be really concerned, especially like the GFS is more like to 157 next 5 days. The GFS has the lowest amount of all the models, but the amount that it shows would already cause problems. So be careful, northern Bangladesh into northeastern India, more than 100 millimeters. So always be careful with landslides and flooding, especially in Nepal and China. I saw some flooding news there in Bhutan, so stay safe. Spots in Cambodia. In Vietnam, those tropical downpours as usual. So to 156 millimeters, 140. So stay safe in those areas. In the Andaman Nicobar Islands, especially the southern Nicobar Islands, there's some heavy rain. So stay safe. The Maldives should be more showers and storms passing as well, and a few ones in Seabreeze Village, more spots. So be careful. Western Guinea across Indonesia, more spots in Indonesia. Those tropical downpours, but especially further north you go, Indonesia, and more spots in Western Guinea, especially in the Philippines. So be careful those storms in the Philippines, those showers and storms, especially in the South China Sea, some heavy ones near like central to southern Philippines and Palau. You show a lot of tropical moisture in Palau as well. So be careful those passing thunderstorms, especially if those cyclones form by week 2 in the Western Pacific. There'll be more moisture around the Philippines. So stay safe. You can see here the amount of scattered thunderstorms all throughout this area. Goes all the way from Papua New Guinea to Pakistan. The storm, so be careful. And then you can see across Southeast Asia, Myanmar, Thailand, a lot of heavy storms. So please be careful, especially the flooding might be more severe central to western India. So stay safe in those areas and keep watching the Western Pacific in case if you are in Japan, Korea, China, Philippines, or even the South China Sea for future assistance throughout the next 2 to 3 weeks. So please be aware those areas There's also a cool thing here for the European model. It has this tropical cyclone probability. So around the western North Pacific, the tropical storm probabilities does show some 50% to the east of Japan with 93W, and in southern Japan just around 30 to 40%, but it does increase later. So be aware around Japan, because throughout this week into next week, most of the focus is around Japan. So stay safe. Later by the 18th, increases to 50% near the northern Philippines and central western Pacific by the 18th, and thus still 50% by July 20th. So stay safe in those areas. There's here some different types of probabilities. This is tropical storm. If I put tropical depression probabilities, there's the remnants of Danas in China, still showing a lot. It shows this area between China and Japan, already to 70% chance of a tropical depression by Sunday. So this goes does show by Monday, the 14th, still very high near southern Japan and to the east of Japan as well. And by the 18th, already shows the Western Pacific, a small area, 60%. So go and watch those areas, and does increase on the 20th around the Western Pacific. There's the typhoon probability as well. Of course, it's lower, but by the 19th and 20th, there's some 10% typhoon probability. So stay safe in those areas. And this year will never load, but yeah, stay safe. Here, there's another model for the heavy rains, like around China. Let's just put Asia here. So there's the Canadian model, just to compare the rainfall. It shows like until the 14th, like next 5 days, shows in central India, those spots to 200 to 300 millimeters, a few spots, and southern Myanmar there, central southern Myanmar, those red to yellowish areas to like 2 to 300 millimeters, especially like maybe around like 150 to 300, because the yellow shadings here are closer to 300, so be careful. Shows around eastern China, spots more than 200, still shows around southern Taiwan, the Canadian model too. So stay safe. I wonder if they have Japan here, Western Pacific. So does show the Canadian doesn't have too much in Japan, just the southern islands more than 200, but around 100 in a spot or two there in Japan. And the Philippines, central-ish Philippines, most of the Philippines more than 50 millimeters, spots more than 100 in the Western Pacific. So stay safe. It does show the northwesternmost tip of Sumatra. Some heavy rains as well, more spots there. So stay safe. Those showers and storms, and be careful. Please be aware. Shows like here. The wingus highly depend if this system will form or not in Japan, but if it forms, expect some higher gusts. But already around Jeju, spots South Korea into Japan, there is slightly higher gusts. Then this goes to the east of Japan. The other system might form. By the 15th, shows some higher gusts on the east coast possible. Tuesday, this goes and more areas. But if you put the GFS, you can see what will happen if a tropical storm forms. So it does form a storm there, and some stronger gusts in the southern end of Japan. And the gusts, some specific gusts, if this forms, might be even stronger. So be aware. Then this joins with the other system later. And some stronger winds by next Monday, the 14th, on the east coast of Japan, northeastern coast. So stay safe in those areas. Since we are already on this map, let's already see like some other spots as usual, like between Afghanistan and Iran, some Hargus in the Arabian Sea because of the monsoon, and spots in northern China, like occasionally in northern China, those mountains, some Hargus. So stay safe Saturday, Sunday, there in the Middle East still, spots near Mongolia, northeastern China, and sometimes more spots in the Middle East or into northern China, even western Kazakhstan by the end of next week. So be aware in those areas. But the other hazard here, as you might have guessed already, is this heat is still like more than 46 to 48 degrees in Iraq, in Iran, Saudi Arabia. So still stay safe in Oman, spots in Iran, Afghanistan. So please be careful in those areas. Some 46 degrees. Thursday, Friday still shows even to 48 degrees central Iraq, southern Turkey to 43 spots in Syria. So 48 western Iran. So please be careful this heat. This is still very dangerous. Stay safe. Friday, Saturday still shows there in Iraq by July 12th to 49 degrees. The heat indices will be over 50 for sure. So please do what you can to stay cool and stay safe in Oman, Saudi Arabia. In Pakistan is better, but still close to 40 degrees in a few areas or even more. Sasa and Afghanistan as well. And a few spots in Kazakhstan and southwestern Russia still pretty hot. So stay safe. Saturday, Sunday, still there in Syria, in Iraq, to 46 degrees, 47 to 49, nearly 50 degrees on the European model Sunday. So the GFS 49, the icon 50 degrees in Iraq on Sunday. 50 spots Saudi Arabia 48, the heat index is well above 50, more spots there. So please stay safe. Sunday there into Monday still shows 50 degrees in a spot or two. So please stay safe in those areas. The European still has by the 15th, some 50 degrees western and so some very extreme heat is on the way. Please stay safe. There are spots in eastern China, very hot in a few areas in central western China, and the tropics fairly warm. So stay safe in those areas. Just one more thing for snow, because the Himalayas still shows a thing or two there, like the next 5 days, still shows a lot of snow in the high elevations there, especially like into northern Nepal, spots of China, especially in Tibet and China, more snow in the high elevations. Tajikistan into western China, Kyrgyzstan, a thing or two. So still be around the Caucasus, mainly nothing. And northern Russia, just in Siberia, a thing or two there. And further east into Siberia. So be careful. Those temperatures are still cold in easternmost Russia, very warm central to southwestern Russia. And even Siberia is milder, but a few nights still colder, especially after the 15th. So be aware, those areas, stay safe. Just checking the rain again because it does show some rain in Turkey, the Caucasus, a storm or two, and in Iran, a storm or two in those mountains. Some severe storms in western Russia, like we mentioned in the European video, and more rain throughout central Russia, especially in eastern Russia, the peninsula, showing close to 130 millimeters next 5 days, southeastern Russia. So still be careful. Those fronts, might be even some severe storms in a few of those fronts in Russia. So be aware and always be careful. Like by Sunday, this huge low pressure soaring around central Russia, more storms, and probably this front might be some severe storms in China by Monday or Tuesday. So this might change too, but we'll keep watching. So stay safe. The image of the days is this big storm I saw last year over the ocean.